Professor Dr. Gunilla Dahlberg is based at the University of Stockholm, Sweden. Her international reputation in the early years field is second to none. She's working on research projects with teachers, parents and children in the preschools of Reggio Emilia, Italy, and develops early years policy in Sweden. Professor Dahlberg challenged the European Early Childhood Education Research Association, EECERA, to think how they use close observation of children as a starting point for developing immersive learning.
And then I remembered a small visit I had in a preschool in Reggio Emilia. And on all tables, the children had made paper dolls. And I was asking the teacher, what have you been working on recently when you have all these paper dolls? And then the teacher says, you see, a couple of weeks ago, in our circle time, one of the children just jumped up and did like this and said, yesterday on Sunday I was on the market. And the child said, oh, it was so crowded. And the child went on like that, and suddenly all children. The teachers told me she started thinking, wow, this could be an interesting project work. So she asked the children, could we do a project on the crowd? And of course the children said, wow, that could be very interesting. And as they very often do, as they have this idea of the 100 languages of children, and one of the languages they use quite often is clay. As they say, clay is a fantastic language because it follows children's thinking and children's theories. So after doing these paper dolls, the teacher asked the children, could you perhaps make crowds in clay? And these 5-year-old children, they started thinking, this is too hard to make a whole crowd in clay. And they made this tailor system. You know, you make the stomach, you make the hands, you make the eyes, and you know, then they put everything together. I think that here we have what we talk about, the competent child. And you know, when I'm thinking of this, do we really listen to children's theories and thinking? And do we really listen to the unexpected? It seems like we are all, in the Western world at least, going backwards from my perspective. We are going more and more into more traditional way. And that, I mean, we haven't understand what postmodern, late modern childhood is about. Children already know this. They can teach us actually about the new world that we are living in, if we are eager to listen to them. So I actually, from a perspective of being a Swede and talking about Britain, it's difficult for me, but I think I have seen you have a lot of goals in early childhood education, and I feel a little bit anxious about all these goals that you are having, because it can really have a counterproductive effect, even if you have the best intentions.
Gunilla Dahlberg has certainly challenged me on my understanding of child development, and I do think the Europeans have a lot to tell us about early childhood, and I think they have a different view of early childhood to us. I think they're steeped in that rich, competent child, that although we have that in our EYFS guidance, I don't think is always true of our practice.
You put down goals and you make them into targets and standards. And then we also talk a lot about the results and the products. But we totally miss out the process. And from the perspective of learning, I would say all theories today would say that the learning process is the main thing, that you need to know how children's learning strategies look like. Otherwise you won't be able to make change happen in a deeper level.
I think it's the most fascinating stage of education. We're looking at development holistically. We're looking at very, very complicated and a rapid rate of development. We're very, very much into problem solving, where children are leading their own learning, and we are very much looking at how we can provoke their learning. And children are just so fascinating.